Welcome to Bear Download. Rich Campbell here with Dan Wiederer. Dan, the last day of training camp. Bears are headed back north to Lake Forest before they head to Indianapolis later in the week, and sort of a time to zoom out really and get an idea of what the Bears accomplished here. When we first got here in July 29th, talked about the energy, the cohesion they tried to develop. What are your impressions as we get ready to leave?
Yeah, I think my impressions are that this team has a long way to go, and they're honest with themselves about how much more they have to do as a team to build an identity to get ready for week 1 against the Packers. They have about 3.5 weeks to do it, but this team understands what it's facing in terms of finding that core group of guys that they can count on. I think what you're hearing from the coaching staff and several of the players is that they feel like maybe that there's a toughness that's been injected back into the team for this training camp. People seem reassured by that. Matt Forte said today that it's that toughness physically and mentally that helps you overcome a lack of talent, which is essentially an admission that, hey, we've got some shortcomings to shore up, and the way to do that is to be a tough, error-free football team as much as possible.
Right, and on the defensive side, I think we have some of the same questions when we came to camp, particularly about the speed of this defense.
Yeah.
And Shea McClellan on Saturday talked about how the growing process in Vic Fangio's scheme here, as it progresses, they will play faster. And while you can't necessarily turn somebody's 40-yard dash time into a blazing time, you know, who's not normally capable of that, while the Bears are getting more comfortable, you start to communicate better, you start to play faster, and that's going to be their goal as we go forward here, to try to just sort of smooth out the rough edges here.
Well, and speaking of speed, the offense as well, with Adam Gase as the coordinator, is putting together a system that uses some up-tempo things, can keep defenses off balance. Players are loving this right now. Obviously, they have a long way to go. Losing Kevin White's a big deal to that receiving core, not just because of the production he may have given you, but just that extra element, that dimension that he could provide outside. We'll see where they find the answers to shore that up. But hey, 3 more preseason games left. This team is excited to leave Bourbonnais. They're going to go to Indianapolis for a couple practices. We'll see what happens from there.
Yeah, right. And I think those practices in Indianapolis should be a big deal. Just another chance to get outside competition. And not to mention, Ryan Pace is going to get a chance to look at another team's 90-man roster. It'll be really interesting to see how many Colts end up as Bears in that final cut. That's a little ways down the road, though. A lot of preseason action ahead of us. For Dan Wiederer, I'm Rich Campbell. Thanks for joining us on Bear Download.